So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what my model, Miss Nyla or Nine Eyes, is standing on. This is a grooming table. It is a tool that I use often. I use it when the dog needs their nails trimmed, their teeth cleaned, they need maybe medication given, some light trimming, for show. I often trim like some of the loose hairs there, the long hairs they get around their tails. I know, Nine Eyes. She looks so sad, but trust me, she is not. She just wants me to come pay attention to her is what she wants. So I'm going to do that in a second. Nyla, I'm going to do that in a second. Okay. So this is a great tool for me to just have a safe place for the dog to stand. So talk a little bit about the parts of it here, right? So she's standing on the table part. Then there's the grooming arm, which is like the metal, kind of thing that goes up, curves over at kind of a 90-degree angle up there, and spits out the other way. It has that holds the grooming noose, which is like, it's a terrible name, right? It sounds like I'm going to hang the dog. She's not hanging. She's not choking. I mean, people might look at it and be like, oh my gosh, you're strangling her. It has a slight bit of slack in it. Trust me. You don't want it to have too much slack in it. If you put too much slack in that grooming noose, the dog can get too close to the edge of the table, and that becomes the dangerous situation. So as long as the dog is up there in the center of the table, as closest to the center as possible, and their feet aren't hanging off the edge, the dog is perfectly safe. So as soon as she can get too close to the edge, if you have too much slack in that grooming noose, that's when it becomes really dangerous, because if she gets 1 foot off that grooming table and loses her balance, she could, fall, and then she would be hanging. So you never, ever, 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 ever want to leave a dog unattended on a grooming table, because even a dog that is very well trained to a grooming table, like an accident could happen, and the dog could take a bad step off the side, and especially with their back feet as they back up, they can't really see where the edge is perfectly. So that's where I often see a dog almost step off or start to step off, and I can kind of correct them. So, but anyways, I use this table all the time. The dogs are pretty used to it. I have a couple dogs that don't really like to be up off the ground. Like they're kind of, you want to say like afraid of heights. Nyla is not one of them. She's like just very chill standing here. So, the dog is a little bit more nervous. I do make sure, I stay a little extra close to them. As I'm doing some grooming, I'll have like all of my stuff ready, like right there. So I don't even have to step, even a couple inches away. I have a lot of my stuff over there on the wall, behind the camera. You can see there on the wall, I have some baskets that hang there. That's where a lot of my stuff is that I use on the dogs. Some nail clippers, nail grinders, like some little trimmers, my teeth cleaning stuff is all right over there in those little baskets. So want to talk a little about the grooming table, because sometimes you are going to see my dogs with in a picture on a grooming table or in a video on a grooming table. And I just want you to understand that, this is not anything inhumane. This would be very similar to your dog, like standing at your feet with a leash on with just some tension, right? Like she's not being strangled. She can breathe perfectly fine. But there's just a little bit of tension there, enough where she can't wander too far towards the side of the table. So she's watching one of the other dogs that's sitting over there. Nine Eyes, what you doing, huh? So anyways, if you have any questions about the grooming table, feel free to, reach out to me. You can put those here in the comments, ask questions, but I find it to be a really good tool to use, so that I can, just do what I need to with the dog, and I don't have to hold the dog here. The noose kind of keeps the dog here, so I can use both my hands to do what I need to do. So if I need to clean the teeth, I can use one hand to lift the lip, the other hand to clean the teeth, and I don't have to have a third hand to just kind of hold the dog here. So the grooming noose kind of acts as that third hand, which is basically just someone holding the dog on a leash, is what you could really think of it being. If this just unsnaps, how is this any different than having your dog on a leash, right? The grooming arm just acts as that person's hand, holding the end of the leash. And then this part, a lot of them have this like some kind of a little thing that just slides down. And again, there's lots of room in this. This just keeps it, you don't want it completely open, and then the dog could just back out of it and fall right off the table. So the noose is actually the safety device that keeps them here on the table where they need to be, so that I can just pick up their feet, trim nails, like I said, trim little hairs on their tails. Or if I'm a lot of times I don't trim whiskers for show, but every once in a while, or if I was gonna trim whiskers, I could do that. So you just wanted all the attention, didn't you? You're such a good little model. Yes. As I've said before, this is where I would also wick at the dogs to see how tall they are, get a measurement if I wanted to. And when you show, you are going to show the dog to the judge on a grooming table. You would show, so they need to kind of get used to doing this and standing up here on a table if they're going to be shown. So it just gets them used to standing here, you know, at attention, feet square, and then be touched, because that's what a judge is going to do at the dog show. So, but even for a pet owner, a grooming table can be a great addition, especially if you're somebody that lives by yourself or has people in the house that, you know, don't love constantly having to help you, you know, do tasks with the dogs. It can be a great thing, and you can get them in a lot smaller size. I have multiple grooming tables. This is like the bigger one that I use. You could use this for a much bigger dog, but I like it because it just gives the dogs lots of room to stand without being right close to the edge. So I like to use this one a lot. But I do have a smaller one that I take to dog shows with me, and another smaller one that I keep, you know, with me as well. I keep up in the house all the time too. So yes, we can practice on our grooming table for the dog show. Okay, we can. Oh.